H.J.Pant, former outstanding scientist and head Isotope and Radiation Application Division, Bhabha Automatic Research Center, Bombay, Bombay. Sir, Harris sir की qualification MSc PhD, professional qualification 1 year postgraduate orientation course in nuclear science and in engineering at Bhabha Automatic Research Center, Mumbai. UNDPA, IAEA, RACA training course on application to radio strobe tracker technique in industry, Lahore, Pakistan. In his achievement, Department of Atomic Energy, Scientific and Technical Department, Technical Excellence Award 2010 and outstanding contribution in the field of radio tracer application in industry. Developed several radio stoppers based technique and implemented them in various industries across India. More than 250 large scale investigation were carried out in the Indian industries. Um, Dr. Harris sir published 120 paper in various journal. Dr. Harris sir published in 5 articles in news bulletins. Dr. Harris sir edited one book and having 8 books chapter on his name. Dr. Harris sir have attended various international, national conference and symposia, a seminar having in a figure of to 19 up to this years. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Good morning. Shall I start the lecture?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Yes.
Okay. I have already shared the lecture. Is my lectures visible on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Is the lectures visible on the screen?
Yes, sir. आप बस सर इस पे क्या कीजिए, साइड शो कीजिए सर एक बार.
Slides.
Yes, sir.
I think ऊपर है सर.
Yeah. Is
Yes, right, sir. Yes.
it okay now?
Yes, sir.
And I am audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So shall I start or?
यस सर स्टार्ट. सर ऑलरेडी हमने क्या किया, पार्टिसिपेंट को म्यूट कर दिया है, क्योंकि क्या होता है बीच बीच में उनका माइक अनम्यूट हो जाता है ऑटोमेटिक. तो आपको कुछ दिक्कत जो उनको क्वेश्चन कुछ होगा सर वो चैट बॉक्स में आपको बताएगा सर.
ओके. हाँ. ओके ठीक है.
लगा
उनको
हाँ
मतलब
बाद में जब अपना जब लेक्चर खत्म हो जाएगा आपने बाद में 15 मिनट आप उनको ऑन कर देंगे सर सिस्टम.
ठीक है. हाँ ठीक है. उस टाइम पे जो भी है उनको बोल दे कि नोट करके रखें अपने जो
Yes, sir.
क्वेश्चंस हैं, एंड लास्ट में 10-15 मिनट का उस टाइम पे हम क्वेश्चन आंसर
यस सर. और सर बीच में आप 12:30 बजे आप ब्रेक ले सकते हैं 10-15 मिनट के लिए.
ओके ठीक है सर. 12
यस आपको जब लेना तब ले सकते हैं.
ओके कोई
थैंक यू
प्रॉब्लम
सर.
नहीं. हाँ. Okay, thank you very much, Gaurav ji. And first of all, I would like to thank organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my experience with you. And thank you for introducing me to the participant. And very good morning to all of you, dear participants. And as organizers introduced me, I was working in BRC and I retired from BRC in May 2024. And I am a retired BRC scientist. And I have been in touch with the Professor Parveena Madam. We did a project together long back. So that was the reason we know each other very well. And she requested me that I should share my experience about the application of nuclear science and technology with you. So you know that I have 2 lectures, and title of both the lecture is Societal Applications of Nuclear Science and Technology. This is the part 1, and in the second lecture is the part 2. So I will be discussing with you the societal applications of nuclear science and technology with you. You see, the application of nuclear science and technology, they can be broadly divided into 4 categories. First, applications, you can say that is the strategic applications for the national security. That is the, development of the nuclear weapons for the national security. And this is the our atomic program is for the, strategic applications. So that is the one application which is the strategic application for the national security. That is one thing. And uh, I would not like to discuss more about this because, for the obvious reasons. The another second application of nuclear science and technology is the generation of the electricity. That is a generation of the power from the nuclear. This is the uh, first societal application of the nuclear science and technology. Second societal application of nuclear science and technology is applications of radioisotopes and radiation technology. And this application is called the non-power applications. These first one was the power application and the second one is the non-power application. And fourth area of application of nuclear science is the basic and applied research in various areas of nuclear science and technology. So these are the four main applications of nuclear science and technology. And you can say that this is the mandate of Department of Atomic Energy, and BARC, that is a Wawa Atomic Research Center, is the main mother institute of Department of Atomic Energy. Of course, there are many institutes all over the country. We have the Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, IGCAR, which is in Kalpakam. Then we have one institute in Indore, which is called Raja Ramanna Center for Advanced Technology. Then we have the Nuclear Fuel Complex, and then we have the Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology. We have the Nuclear Power Corporation, and so many. These are all research center of the atomic energy. Department of Atomic Energy. But the Nuclear Power Corporation is a public sector company which is owned by the Department of Atomic Energy, and this company is responsible for the generation of the electricity and generation of the nuclear power from the nuclear reactor. Am I okay? Are you audible, or are you? Am I okay? Hello, participants. Hello. Hello, Gaurav ji. You see that now power applications of nuclear science and technology. You see, okay, fine, thank you. Fine, thank you for responding. The power applications is the generation of electricity, generation of the nuclear power, and that is called the electricity generation. You see, then in India, the total amount of the electricity which is produced in India, 70%, 74% of the electricity comes from the coal, about 7% comes from the hydro, 6% comes from the solar, 5% comes from the wind, 3% comes from the natural gas, and about 2 to 3% comes from the nuclear. And in India, we have about 25 reactors and the 7 atomic power plants, and about 9,000 megawatt of the electricity is produced. So this is the share of the nuclear in the energy mix, which we call it. So you can say that this share is very, very low. Now, our Prime Minister has given a call for the Viksit Bharat. And if any country has to be a developed country, the one of the first parameter is the availability of the power. The country has to be sufficient power. And if you say that these all coal, hydro, solar, wind, natural gas, there is a very limited scope that this share can be increased. But there is a lot of scope that from the nuclear we can we can enhance or we can produce more electricity, and that will again be contribute to our Prime Minister's call, which is called the Viksit Bharat. So the nuclear component will have to play a very important role in the development of the Viksit Bharat. And the government has set a very ambitious target to produce the nuclear or to grow the nuclear capacity to at least 100 gigawatt electric by 2047. So from the nuclear, which is about 2 to 3% right now, it has to be about 6 to 8 or about 10%. And for to increase to that percentage, we have to generate about 100 gigawatt of electricity by 2047. And I'm very happy, I'm very glad that one of the participant during the briefing the session just before my lecture, they mentioned about the Shanti Bill. Actually, the Shanti Bill is nothing but it's called Sustainable Harnessing and Advancement of Nuclear Energy for Transforming India 2025. So this was the Shanti Bill which was put up in the Parliament in the last year, December 2025, and this bill has been passed from the Parliament. Now this bill, what is this bill? Till now, only the atomic energy, only the Department of Atomic Energy was allowed to set up the nuclear reactor and produce the electricity from the nuclear reactor. And this company, which was responsible for producing the nuclear power in India, was the Nuclear Power Corporation of India. And as I told you that this company has about 25 nuclear reactors, 7 atomic power plants, and right now is generating very low amount of low fraction of this power from the nuclear. Because government alone cannot produce more power. And you know that in the government sector, there are so many constraints. So that is why the Shanti Bill was brought in. And the main aim of this bill was that now the private companies can set up the nuclear reactor and they can produce the electricity. And then only it is possible to generate the 100 gigawatt of electricity by 2047. Otherwise, it is not possible, and otherwise our country cannot become a developed country, cannot have the sufficient power, sufficient electricity, which is one of the main parameter for a country to be a developed nation. So the Shanti Bill says that now private companies can participate in the setting up of the nuclear. But the safety regulation and the control will still be from the Department of Atomic Energy. The regulation of these power plants, whichever power plants are being set up in our country by the private companies, the regulation will be by the government, because being a nuclear, there are a lot of safety issues involved. So that is why this regulation will be with the government. So this was about the Santi bill. And now the companies like, Reliance, Larsen Toubro, and BHL, and Adani, and many other companies, they can now, they have already started setting up their offices. And they will soon, you will see that in another 1 year's time, the many company will announce the, setting up of the nuclear reactors in India. You see that I have just in this slide, I have just shown one nuclear reactor. I feel that all of you are not from the nuclear science, and from the science background. So just for the sake of those who are not familiar with the nuclear reactor, you can see that you have a core of the reactor here, and then in the core you have the fuel, and that fuel, the fission process takes place. And when the fission of the fuel atoms, like uranium 235 or plutonium and thorium, if this fission takes place, a huge amount of heat is generated, and this heat is removed, and the steam is produced, and from the steam the turbine is run, and from the turbine then you can see that the electric generator is there, and then electricity is produced. So this is just a schematic representation of how a nuclear reactor works actually. And there are many kinds of the nuclear reactors which are being operated in throughout the world. More than 1,000 reactors are operating in the different parts of the world today. So, and in the right hand side, if you see that, the countries, power production, the electricity produced from the nuclear. If you see here, you can see that in this chart, the France, about 77% of the electricity in France comes from the nuclear. Now you can see. And where are we? We are up to 2 to 3%. I think about 2 to 3% is the share of the electricity produced in India from the nuclear. Then you see other countries, Belgium, Slovakia, Ukraine, and many other countries. You can see USA, around 20% of the electricity in the United States is produced from the nuclear. Russia, 15%, Canada, around 12%. And if you see the here, and India at the bottom, almost at the bottom, is around 3.1%. So now from this 3.1, we have to around 10%. If we increase this to 10%, maybe around we will be able to generate 100 gigawatt of electricity from the nuclear. So this is the one of the biggest societal benefits of a societal application of nuclear science and technology, means producing the electricity from the nuclear fission, from the nuclear. So first, this is the first applications. Now, actually, this itself is a big topic. It means, but I would not like to, discuss it here because because it is not required. I just wanted to give you just a superficial idea that how electricity can be produced from the nuclear and what is the percentage and all that. Now, the second application second societal application of nuclear science and technology is application of isotopes or radioisotopes. Now, what are the isotopes? The nuclides of an element that have the same number of the proton but the different number of neutrons are called the isotopes. And these isotopes are either stable or they are radioactive. A stable isotope they do not emit any radiation. They are stable, the nucleus is stable, and they do not emit any radiation. On the other hand, the radioactive isotopes, they emit the radiation. And this emission of radiation is called the radioactivity. And from this radioactivity is a spontaneous phenomena. Means spontaneously the atoms, they emit the radiation. So they are called the radioactive atoms or radioactive isotopes. For example, you can see here, this is the structure of an atom. You have you have a nucleus here. In the nucleus, you have the protons and neutrons, and outside this nucleus there are electrons revolving in the round circles and around orbits. This is the general structure of an atom. And you see that the hydrogen, for example, I have just shown here, the hydrogen has three isotopes. What are those three isotopes? We call the hydrogen 1, hydrogen 2, which is also called the deuterium, and hydrogen 3, which is called the hydrogen 3 is called the tritium. And hydrogen 1 and hydrogen 2, they are the stable isotope of the hydrogen. Only this third isotope, which is called the tritium or hydrogen 3, it is a radioactive, and it emits the beta radiation. So this is the radioactive isotope. Tritium is a radioactive isotopes of the hydrogen. Now you see that in the nature, there are the natural radioisotopes which are present in the nature. Like tritium, like the hydrogen, third isotopes of hydrogen, which is called the tritium, carbon 14, potassium 40, radium 228, uranium 238. These are the some of the naturally occurring radioisotopes which are present in the nature, or which are produced in the upper atmosphere, which is called the stratosphere. They are produced there from the interaction of the cosmic rays with the different gases, and these are called the radioisotopes because they emit the radiation. Now these radioisotopes can also be produced in the nuclear reactors. These isotopes, these radioactive isotopes are also produced in the reactors, and there are about more than 2000 different artificial radioisotopes have been produced, and they can be produced in the nuclear reactor. Now, as I told you that radioactivity, I have already told you that spontaneous emission of radiations like alpha, beta, gamma from or by the nucleus of an atom is called the radioactivity, and the isotope that emits the radiation, they are called the isotopes. And the activity of these radioisotopes, the ability of emission of radiations of these isotopes is measured in terms of a unit which is called the becquerel, becquerel. So 1 becquerel is equivalent to 1 disintegration per second. If one radioactive atom decays in 1 second, it means the activity of that particular radioisotope is 1 becquerel. So this is the unit for the quantification of the to measure the radioactivity of any radioisotopes. And every radioisotopes has the different energy, and they have the different life. And their life is actually quantified in terms of the half-life. Half-life means if I have 100 atoms, 100 radioactive atoms at any time, let us say T0, and in the time during which about the 50% of the atoms they decay down, that time is called the half-life. Means the duration or the time during which half of the radioactive atoms decay is called the half-life. So generally in 4 to 5 half-lives, radioactivity of a radioisotopes, it becomes almost zero. If you see this exponentially decaying graph here, it will take a long time, almost infinity time for the radioactivity to become the zero. But in practically, in 5 to 6 half-life, the activity of any radioisotopes becomes zero. So this was just give you a brief idea about what are the radioisotopes and what are the radiations, because some of you may be from the science background, but maybe some of you may not be from the science background. So I wanted to tell this very basic thing about the radioisotopes and radiations. This, as I told you, these radioisotopes are produced. They are either, some of them are naturally present in the nature, like tritium, carbon 14, potassium 40. The the milk contains potassium 40. The banana contains potassium 40. The sand contains uranium, thorium, that is a radioactivity. Many other things, they contain the radioactivity. So the radioactivity is actually naturally present in the nature. And second way, I told that these radioisotopes can be produced by the nuclear reactors. Now you can see in this slide, you can see that we have here there are the reactors for the production of the radioisotopes. And first reactor in Asia, first India built the first nuclear reactor in Asia, and that was commissioned in 1956. You see, India became independent in 1947, and in 1956, India could develop a nuclear reactor for production of radioisotopes. So this is India's first, and even the Asia's first atomic reactor. It was a 1 megawatt reactor, and it was decommissioned in 2010. This reactor was decommissioned, and then again we built a reactor which is called Apsara U. Apsara U is again it is located in BARC Mumbai, and it is called the Apsara U. It was U means upgraded. Actually the Apsara was upgraded to Apsara U, and it is renamed as Apsara U, and it was a 2 megawatt, and it was commissioned in 2018. And this was mainly built or mainly developed for the production of the radioisotopes. Now I will come to the point why we need the radioisotopes, why we are producing the radioisotopes. Another reactor which India had was again it was located in BARC at Trombay, Mumbai, and it was called a Cyrus reactor. It was a 40 megawatt reactor. It was commissioned in 1960, and it was very good reactor and built with the help of the Canada actually, and it was decommissioned in 2010. So when it operated for a long time, and it was used for the production of the radioisotopes. Now Dhruva reactor, another reactor which was again located in BRC Trombay, Mumbai. It is a 100 megawatt reactor. It was commissioned in 1985 and it is again used for the production of the radioisotopes. And this is the main reactor today, which is producing the different kind, 100 different types of the radioisotopes for the societal benefits. And this we have the two reactors which are operating in Trombay, Mumbai, BRC, Apsara U and Dhurva. And these two reactors are used for the production of the radioisotopes. In addition to these two reactors, there are some reactors which are belongs to the nuclear power corporation. They are also sometimes used for the production of the radioisotopes, and the radioisotopes which is produced in these reactors is called the cobalt 60. So it says cobalt 60 is the radioisotopes which can be produced in the research reactor which we have in BARC. But this particular radioisotopes can also be produced in the nuclear powers, power reactors which are meant for the production of the electricity. Now, in addition to this, another way of production of the radioisotopes is the cyclotron. The cyclotrons are also used for the production of the radioisotopes, and these radioisotopes are used in healthcare for the treatment of diagnosis and treatment of the various diseases. And today in India, this is around 28 cyclotrons are being used in India in the different hospitals. And these cyclotrons are used for the production of various radioisotopes, and these radioisotopes are used for the diagnosis and treatment purposes. Another way of producing radioisotopes is the generator. Generator is nothing but it's some sort of a cow. Cow means like a गाय. जैसे गाय से दूध निकालते हैं वैसे ही from this generator you can milk out the radioisotopes. What happens that in this generator a long-lived radioisotopes is housed in some is housed, which decays into some dot in the shorter half-life, and then you can milk it, you can extract it, you can separate it. Means from the parent you can the isotopes which was long lived is called the parent, and the isotope which decays down and is extracted is called the daughter. So these daughter products are separated from the main isotopes, and then they are also used for the in the hospitals for various applications. Some of the isotopes like cesium-137, strontium-90, krypton-85, they are also produced during the fission of the process in the nuclear reactor. It may be either research reactor or nuclear reactor. When there is a reactor is operating, a nuclear reactor is operating, the fuel will be burning, and from that fuel some of the radioisotopes are produced. So these are the ways how the radioisotopes are produced. Some of the radioisotopes are naturally present, and more than 2000 different radioisotopes can be produced by the artificial means, either nuclear reactor or the cyclotron or the generator or the fission process. So now you can ask me a question, why these radioisotopes are produced? Why we produce them? What is their use? So I will discuss now what are the applications of these radioisotopes. Before that, I would like to tell you that what are the different types of the radiations which are produced from these from these isotopes. They are the beta particles. Beta particle is emitted from the radioisotopes, And beta particle is nothing but it is like a electron. And these electrons can be used for the various applications I will just discuss. Alpha particle is also emitted from the radioisotopes, which is a alpha particle is nothing but is a helium nuclei. Gamma rays, they are also produced from the isotopes. They are all alpha, beta, gamma. They are produced from the nucleus of a atom, which is a radioactive atom. And these gamma radiations are the electromagnetic radiation. Then you have the neutrons. Neutrons are produced in the nuclear reactors when the fission reaction takes place. And there are now various means, nuclear generator, and then there are some radioisotopic sources also where the neutrons can also be produced. But a nuclear reactor is the main source of the neutrons. Protons and neutrons, they are also produced in the nuclear reactor. And the X-rays are produced in the X-ray machines. So these are some of the important nuclear radiations which can be utilized for various societal applications, for the various societal benefits. Now, as I told you that you may ask me a question, why we produce these radioisotopes and what for they are used. Now, the answer of this question is here. These radioisotopes, they can be applied in various fields. The main areas of application of radiations are healthcare. Healthcare is the main area of application of radioisotopes or radiation. Then comes agriculture and food. Then comes isotope hydrology. Isotope hydrology means for the development and management of the water resources. And then comes the industry. So these are the four main areas of applications of nuclear science and technology, or you can say that applications of radiation techniques. So you can see that these are very main areas. You see healthcare is a very, very important area. We all are concerned about health. Then you have the food and agriculture. You see, if you don't have the food and you have then it becomes very difficult to survive. Then you say water and then industry. So you see that all these are the four important areas actually, and all this human being and human life is dependent on all these four areas. So let us discuss now briefly about what are the application of these techniques in this one. Now, as I told you that there are two types of radioisotopes are produced. Now, the application of these radioisotopes in different areas. It may be industry, it may be a healthcare, it may be a food, and it may be a isotope hydrology. These applications are mainly divided into two categories. There are two main categories of application of radioisotopes. First is the radio tracer applications. What is a radio tracer application? In radioactive tracer application, a small amount of the radioactive material is injected into the system. The system may be a industrial system, it may be a human system, it may be a biological system, it may be an industrial system, it may be a water body. So that is the meaning of a system here. So a small amount of a suitable radioactive isotopes is injected into the system, and its passage is monitored at the different locations along the system. When it passed through the system with the flow, it is measured. And we monitor these radio tracer concentration curves, and we analyze these curves, and we come to know about what is happening inside the systems. So if one wants to know what is happening inside the system, in even maybe a human body, in human body, what the doctors do, if they want to see how your heart is functioning, when how your lung is functioning, and any part of how the liver is functioning, they inject a suitable radioactivity into the your body, and this particular radioisotopes, which is called the radiopharmaceutical. This radio tracer here is called the radiopharmaceutical, and it is it is measured using a gamma camera, and then it creates an image, and one can find out, the doctors can find out where is the disease and how the disease is spreading and how we should treat this. So that is the how the radioactivity can be used for the diagnosis. In the same way, in the industrial system, how a industrial reactor behaves, same way in the aqueous system. So like that, in case of the plant also, in the plant also, these radioisotopes are used as a radio tracer. So this is the principle of the radio tracer techniques, means how a radioactive material is used as a radio tracer to find out the flow dynamics, or to find out for the to find out the to know the information about the system. So this is one category of application of radioisotopes, and that is the radio tracer. So this is the principle of the radio tracer techniques. You inject a small amount of radioactivity into the system, and this radio tracer should have the same physico-chemical property as the material which you are going to trace. So after that, you record the radio tracer concentration curve at the different locations along the system. You have those curves, you analyze those curves, and then you know what is happening inside the system. It's just like taking the ECG. How a doctor takes a ECG. It will put if a doctor is taking the ECG of heart, how does it how does he takes? He mounts the various probes around your heart and then stimulates your heart with a pulse, and then see how that electric pulse is moving around in the various arteries around your heart, and those ECG curves are recorded, and then doctors will say, oh yes, you have the blockage, you have this problem, that problem. In the same way, in the industrial or in the biological or in any system, this radio tracer techniques is used to find out the health of the system. Okay, that was the principle of the radio tracer techniques. Now let us discuss about the sealed source application. The another category of the radioisotope applications in various areas, it may be agriculture, it may be industry, it may be hydrology, and any area, is a sealed source technique. In sealed source techniques, the radioactivity is encapsulated in a sealed capsule, and the radioactivity never comes in direct contact with the process material. It is just only a beam of the radiations is emitted from that is emitted from that source. You can see here on the right hand side, you have a radiation source, and a beam of radiation is directed on the object. And what will happen? Some of the radiation will be absorbed by the material, some of the radiation will be backscattered, and some of the radiation will be transmitted. So here we are measuring the intensity of the transmitted radiation. And that transmitted radiation depends upon the density of this material, internal structure of this material, and thickness of this material. So based on the intensity of the transmitted radiation, we can interpret the intensity of the transmitted radiation and find out what is happening about the system. It's just like in taking the x-rays. When you have some problem, when you have a bone fracture, like say somebody is having a bone is a fracture in the leg, what doctor says, go to a x-ray technician take a X-ray and then come back. So in the same way, one can also take the X-ray using the, and there the X-ray is taken by using the X-ray machine. Here and the radiations which are emitted there are the X-rays. But from the cobalt 60 source or any radiation source, what kind of radiations are emitted? Gamma radiation. And this gamma radiation and X-rays radiation, they are the same. They are the electromagnetic radiation. In fact, there is no difference between the X-rays and X-rays and gamma rays. Only difference is that X-rays are generated from the outside the nucleus by the transition of the electron from upper cell to the lower cell. When the transition of electron takes place from higher cell to the lower cell, then a X-ray is emitted. But the gamma radiations are emitted from the nucleus of a atom. So that is the only difference between X-rays and gamma rays. Otherwise, they have the same nature and same properties. Now you can see that the a seal source can be in terms of a tablet, it can be in terms of a point source, it can be of a wire, it can be a rod, it can be a cylinder, and depending upon the type of applications, this is the one can have a different kind of seal sources for the different application. So these are the two techniques, two types of the application of radioisotopes in various areas. First is the tracer techniques, second is the seal source techniques. So now let us discuss some of the applications of these radioisotopes. Now let us first talk about the healthcare. I told you that first and I told you that out of 4 areas of application of radioisotopes, the one of the main area is healthcare. In India, about more than 400 hospitals in India, they are having their nuclear medicine department. And all the isotopes which are supplied to these hospitals, they are supplied by the Department of Atomic Energy. They are produced in the nuclear reactors in Trombay, and then these radioisotopes after production, they are supplied to the Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology, which is a commercial wing of Bhabha Atomics Research Center, which is called the BRIT, Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology. This department processes those radioisotopes according to the use. It will dispense and it will process them, and then it will supply it to the hospitals across the India, across the country. In even some of the radioisotopes are also supplied to the abroad. We also export to countries like Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam. So these are, now you say that what are the application of these radioisotopes in healthcare? In healthcare, there are 3 applications of the radioisotopes. 3 applications of the radiation. First application is the diagnostic application, and this diagnostic application is also known as the nuclear medicine. And how it works, as I told you that let us say if one wants to if a doctor wants to study or investigate the function of a liver, so what he will do, he will formulate, he will take a radioisotope. From the radioisotopes, he will formulate a radio pharmaceutical. He will mix some medicine with that, and the radioisotopes gets bound to that medicine, and that is called the radiopharmaceutical, or it is also called the radio tracer. Now this radiopharmaceutical, when it is injected into body or through the injection, or you can you can just drink that with the water. It will go and it will deposit in the liver, or if in the liver, wherever the disease is there, this radioisotope or this radiopharmaceutical will be deposited on the particular organ. Here, what I told you, here the organ is the liver, and it will go in the liver also. It will go and sit at the go to that location where there is a disease, where there is some problem, and it will go sit there, and then the patient is is put up inside a camera. It is put up in the camera, and the camera rotates, and the camera will take the various images of that that organ, and then doctors will analyze those images, and they will know what is the extent of the disease, what is the kind of disease, and how this disease is spreading, and then based on that they will decide the treatment modalities. So these are the this is the area which is called the nuclear medicine, and application of radioactive material for the diagnosis purposes. So they are the, you must have heard the name of the PET, positron emission tomography scans, PET. So PET is, in the PET, fluorine 18 is the radioactive isotopes which is injected into the body. Fluorine 82 can be used for studying the activity of the brain, how the brain is functioning, what is the problem in the brain. Some people have, if there is a tumor, or if there is any kind of disease in the, it can be used. Then fluorine 18 isotopes can also be used for the studying of the functioning of the heart, how the heart is functioning. It can be also used for detecting the various kinds of the cancers. Actually, if somebody is having liver cancer, brain cancer, any kind of the organ, any organ can be studied, can be investigated using these techniques. And so this is one. Second imaging technique is SPEC. In the SPEC is also the similar kind of techniques, in which we use the single photon emission computed tomography. It is called the, and SPEC, and we use a single photon, means single radiation, like the gamma radiation which is emitted from the technetium 99M. Technetium 99M is used in the 80 to 90% of the imaging applications in the healthcare industry. It is also used for to find out how the blood is flowing in the arteries, how the brain is functioning, how the heart is functioning. So this particular radioisotope is called the workhorse of nuclear medicine. Technetium 99M is called the workhorse of the nuclear medicine. In 80 to 90% of the imaging applications in the healthcare industry or in the hospitals, this particular radioisotopes is used. Fluorine 18 is called the molecule of the millennium. It is named as a molecule of the millennium, and it is used mainly to find out whether there is a cancer, or whether there is any other kind of disease. And other isotopes which are used in the nuclear medicine for the diagnosis purpose are that iodine 131. And this iodine 131 is also used for the monitoring of the thyroids. You see, thyroid detection, thyroid is a very common problem or common disease in India, and it is used. The iodine 131 radioisotope is used to image the thyroids, and then accordingly the treatment can be finalized. And like thallium 201, it locates the damaged heart muscles. You see, these thallium radioisotopes, thallium 201, is used for the, if there is a heart attack and then doctor wants to know, okay, what is the damage, extent of damage, or there will be damage of the arteries with the age. So one can use the thallium. These radioisotopes are regularly used in the hospitals. Please note that these radioisotopes are regularly used in the hospital for various diagnosis purposes. So this was about how your radiation techniques or a radioisotopes can be used for the diagnosis of the disease. Now one has diagnosed the disease. Now that disease has to be treated also. So there are some radioisotopes, radiation techniques which are used for the treatment, and that is called the therapeutic application. Those are the therapeutic applications of the radioisotopes, and it is also called the radiotherapy. Now you see that what are those applications? Cancer treatment. Cancer treatment is one of the main application of the societal benefit of nuclear science and technology. Nowadays, most of the cancer, they are treated using the radiations. And radiation alone cannot be used, but in some time they can be used alone. In some time they can be used with the chemotherapy. Then in some time they can also use with the when the surgery is done. Sometime alone also they are used. And there are two techniques. There are two techniques which are used in the radiotherapy. The first technique is called the teletherapy. The first technique is called the brachytherapy. Sorry, brachytherapy. In brachytherapy means the radioactivity in terms of a seed or in terms of a wire or in terms of a pellet is inserted into the organ. If somebody is having sub cancer, like there are cancers, ladies are having the breast cancer, so this radioactive seeds, we call the radioactive needles, they are inserted into the various parts of the breast, and then they emit the radiation and they kill the cancerous cell. So that way they are called the bin they are called the they are used in the treatment of the cancer. So that is called the brachytherapy. Brachytherapy means you have to insert the radioactive material into the body, into the organ where the cancer is there. Then the teletherapy. In the teletherapy, you can you have a radioactive source, and a beam of radioactive source is directed at the organ, and then these radiations will bombard with the irradiate the it will kill the cancerous cell, and that way when they kill the cancerous cell, then the disease can be cured. So like that, there are some beta emitter. In some cases, a radiopharmaceutical is injected into the body, and this radiopharmaceutical will go and sit in that particular organ and will emit the radiations and will kill the cancerous cell. So that way. There are many other kinds of the treatment procedures, diagnosing and treatment procedure, which are used in the uh, which are used in nuclear medicines or in healthcare industry. So these were the two applications. One was the diagnosis purpose, how the radiations or radioactivity or the radioisotopes are used in the nuclear medicine, and second was the therapeutic application, means that is how the radiations are used for the treatment. Now you see the third application of the radiation techniques in healthcare is sterilization of medical products. You see, all the healthcare products which are used in the surgery or which are used in the hospitals, they need to be mandatorily sterilized. And they are sterilized because there should not be any infection afterwards, and there should not be any this thing. So they need to be sterilized. Now there are conventional technique for the sterilization. There are chemical techniques. Ethylene oxide is used. Yeah, heat. They are also heated. You must have seen in the olden days when there was no technique for the sterilization. How the doctors, I myself had seen in my village, where doctors used to heat these syringes, needles before giving you the injection. He will heat the syringe, he will heat that needle, and when it is boiled in the water, after that they will only use. So the heat treatment is also one of the technique for the sterilization of medical products, but it is not used now. Then ethylene oxide is another chemical technique for the sterilization of the medical products. But third technique which is used for the sterilization of medical technique is the radiation. Using the radiation, one can sterilize the medical products. And in the worldwide today, about 50% of the medical products, they are sterilized by the radiation. These radiation, what are the sources? They are cobalt, it is a cobalt 60 source, and this cobalt 60 radioisotopes emits the gamma radiations, and these gamma radiations are bombarded on these medical products, and a particular dose is given. Here, for the sterilization, it is 2.5 mega rad of dose is given to these healthcare products, and then they are sterilized. Another source is that the electron beams. The electrons from the electron beams can also be used for the sterilization of medical products. And in our country, in India, there are about 30 gamma radiation plants which are based on cobalt 60. They are used for the sterilization of medical products, and more than 30 gamma radiation plants are in the commissioning or in the setup, matlab in the establishment stage. So already 30 plants are operating, and 30 plants are in the process of commissioning. So this is the way how matlab radiations can be used for the sterilization of the radiation products. So what are the radiation products? Like syringes, needles, surgical sutures, gloves, cotton dressing, drugs, or orthopedic implants, and many other products. And this is very convenient and very reliable technology. Now we in India, we have this is one gamma radiation plants which we have in Mumbai. You can see that these gamma radiation plants are how they are used for the, this you can see a figure here. This particular is used for the uh, mm, uh, sterilization of the medical products. So these are the boxes. These boxes are just put in the tote box inside in a metal aluminum box, and they are sent inside the radiation plants, where they go and they move inside that, and after moving inside, they get a particular the dose which is required, and then they are sterilized. So this is a cobalt 60. Isomed is the first radiation sterilization medical plants in India. It was set up in 1974 with the help of UNDP, and it operated up to 2019, and it was housing around 1 million curie of cobalt 60. So you can see that the radiation is the amount of activity of this cobalt 60 source is very, very high. So this was the first medical sterilization plants in India, and now we have the 30 plants in operation, and 30 plants they are in this thing. You see that this is a plant, how a gamma radiation plant look like. This is the gamma irradiators. And government of India is giving a lot of subsidy how for the setting up of this thing. हाँ सर, मैं बाद में कॉल करूंगा, एक ऑनलाइन लेक्चर दे रहा हूँ सर. So this is how this gamma radiation plants look like. This is a blood irradiator. You see, before blood is transfused into some patients, the blood has to be irradiated with the radiations before it is transfused into the patient. So this is a blood irradiator, and there are many medical products like this which are manufactured by our commercial wing, which is called the Board of Radiation and Isotope Technology, and they supply all these radiation sources or radiation equipments in India. So that was about the healthcare. Now let us come to the before we break for this thing, we would like to discuss about the application of the radiation techniques or application of radioisotopes or application of radiations for food security. Security, food safety, and sustainable agriculture in India. So let us briefly discuss some of the examples. What are the, you see, the application of radiation in food and agriculture. The main application of radiations in food and in agriculture is the plant breeding and genetics by radiation mutation techniques. So by the radiation mutation techniques, you can produce good quality of the seeds, and when these good quality of the seed are sold by the farmers, the produce the crop production and many other things can be improved. So that is the radiation mutation technique for food security or for sustainable agriculture is being used extensively in India, and the institute which is promoting these application is the Baba Atomic Research Center. Then we have the insect pest control is also radiation techniques is also used for controlling the pest. And then animal production and healthcare of animals, soil and water management and crop nutrition, and food and environmental protection. So these are the different radiation techniques which are used in the food and agriculture. So let us see how the radiation mutation techniques can be used. What is the radiation mutation technique? It is science and art of improving the plant's genetics and makeups. Genetic makeup of the plant can be improved by the radiation. In this, to create a new varieties with the desirable traits like higher yield, better nutritional qualities, pest and disease resistance seeds, and stress tolerance. If you produce your seeds from the radiation mutation, these seeds yields the higher, they give the higher yields, and the quality of the seeds or quality of the crop is improved. These crops are pest and disease resistance. They are the stress tolerance, and finally the productivity of the farmer is enhanced or is increased. What does it do? What does we do in the radiation mutation? It involves intentional cross hybridization of the plants and selecting the offspring with superior characteristic using both traditional and modern genetic techniques. They are used for improving the crop cultivators and also increasing the farmer income. So in the radiation mutation, what is done? You take a seeds. You can take the seeds of groundnut. You can take seeds of pulses. You can take the paddy field and wheat seed. Any kind, any seed you can take. You can irradiate with the radiation, and you have to optimize the dose. This for the best mutation breeding. This is the particular dose. So you have to do here dose standardization. So you have to do the experiment in the laboratory and then optimize the dose. This is the dose we should give it to this plant of these seeds for the best result. Once you give, if you do that, then you can sow those seeds. And after sowing those seeds, what will happen? When you sow, these are the some of the radiation mutants of the ground nuts, and these are the mung bean. You can see that different variety can be well, the variability of the crops can be can be studied, and the farmers can farmer can produce different kinds of the pulses. You can see the color, there is a change in the color, there is a size in the there is a change in the size, there is a change in many other things. But you see that the nutritional values are improved and the yield is the improved. So these are the two, and various kinds of the varieties. Some varieties may be suitable for Maharashtra, some variety will be suitable for the Uttar Pradesh, some variety will be for Andhra, some variety. So based on the climate, based on the climatic condition, different kinds of the seeds can be produced using the radiation mutation. You can see that here, these are the before the radiation, left hand side, before the irradiation, parent one. And you can see that these are the mutant on the right hand side. These are the mutant which were produced from the radiation irradiation. Again, these are the various kinds of this thing, copies. And you can see the different color. You can change the color. You can change their other variability. You can see that how these mung beans are being grown in the different parts of the Maharashtra. You see that this is the old data I have. I don't have the latest one. But worldwide there are about 3,235 varieties of the seeds, varieties of the crops have been developed using the radiation mutation. In India, it is around 332. I think it will be around 400 now because this data is a 2016 data. And you can see that we have developed, these are the various seeds which were produced from the radiation mutations, and they are now being used for the farmers. So you can see that how the radiation techniques can be used for increasing the productivity, increasing the income of the farmer, and increasing the food sustainability, increasing the food safety and security, how the radiation techniques are used. Now, you see losses of agriculture and food products. You see, you know that there is a lot of wastage of the products, and in Maharashtra particularly, there are you see the onion, how the onions are being they gets rotten, and they not only onion, the potato, the ginger, the garlic, and many other varieties of the food products, they get spoiled, and there is a huge loss. Around 40 to 20% of the crop of the farmers is this thing is spoiled. Now, how the radiation can be used for minimizing these losses, these products, that is called the food irradiation. Food processing of the food processing by radiation is itself is a very big area, and here I have listed here what are the different application of radiation in food processing. The food processing are, it kills the pest microorganism without the food degradation. It does not make the food radioactive. There is a misconception in public's mind sometime, if you irradiate the food products using the radiations, the food will become radioactive and it will be harmful. Please note that the radioactive, when the food products are irradiated with the radiations, no radioactivity is produced and it is absolutely safe. And there is a mark which is called Idura mark. You can see that this is a mark here, which is put on this label is put on the food products which are irradiated. And if you see that this kind of Idura mark on the label on the food products, it means you can see that this is the radiation irradiated products. And it is a FDA, Food and Drugs Administration of India. It is approved from them, by them. And but when it is irradiated, it must be labeled. Public should know that this food is irradiated by food product is irradiated by the radiation. So what are the different applications of the radiation in food processing? It inhibits the sprouting. It stops the sprouting of the onion, potato, ginger, and garlic. So you can see here the radiation, if you treat the onion, potato, garlic, ginger with the radiation, the sprouting is stopped, it is inhibited, and the shelf life of these product is increased. If you don't, then they will be spoiled very soon. When the onion is produced, maybe within up to 1 month you can store it and use. But after a month you will find that these will get spoiled, and they will सड़ जाएंगे, गल जाएंगे, and then they cannot be used. But if you irradiate them with the radiations, what happens? Their shelf life is increased. Their life is increased up to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year time, and they can be stored for a longer time, and then they can be used. Then the food pulses, then the food products like cereals, pulses, and dry fruits. Generally, you must have seen that there is a fungus, there are microorganism on that, there are pest, insects. They spoil these food products. दाल पे आपने देखे होंगे बहुत टाइम तक रखने से what happens that उस पे कीड़े वीड़े लग जाते हैं, घुन लग जाते हैं. But if you irradiate them, these products with the radiation, उस पे घुन नहीं लगते हैं, उस पे जो ये पेस्ट का वो नहीं होता है, माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म जो है वो नहीं लगते हैं. एंड देन द लाइफ ऑफ दिस कैन बी एक्सटेंडेड वेरी up to a year, or maybe in some cases it is more than a year. Then you can see that here the meat products. Meat products you cannot store in freeze or in open for a more time. Okay, but if you irradiate them with the radiations, their life is increased. Maybe 2 months or 3 months or 4 months. Up to that time they can be stored and then they can be used. You can see that recently you must have seen that we are exporting the mangoes, Alfonso, to the United States. You must have read in the newspaper that now the mangoes are, we export mangoes to the United States and other countries. And the mandatory requirement is that if the mango is not irradiated by the radiation, it cannot be exported. So it is a rule from those countries like United States and in some other European country. They want that before we export them, they have to be irradiated with the radiation. So that why they are irradiated, but that is a phytosanitary for the phytosanitary treatment for the quarantine purpose, and they delay in the ripening. If you do not delay, they will ripen very soon, and they will be spoiled. But if you want to delay the ripening of these mangoes, they have to be irradiated by the radiations, and then they can be exported, because the transportation itself takes few days, few weeks. Then the spices also, they have to be irradiated. We also export a lot of spices, and before we export them, they have to be irradiated. They have to, why they have to be irradiated? For the hygienization purpose, for the disinfection purposes, the spices have to be irradiated. So these are the some of the products which needs to be irradiated by radiations to extend their shelf half-life and to keep them the pest-free, microorganism-free, and ultimately to increase their shelf life. You can see that these are the onion, and you can see that this is how a sprouting takes place, and a very small dose is given. If you give a small dose of the radiation, the sprouting is inhibited. Sprouting is stopped. You see, can see that ये cereals like here जो भी ये हैं हमारे यहाँ the दालें हैं या other cereals, and they can be also irradiated. You can see that mango. We have a plant in Lasalgaon, which is called Krisak. If you people are from nearby area, you can visit. I can arrange your visit to these plants. You can see how the mangoes, how the onions, how the potato, and other things they are irradiated in those plants. You can go and see, witness how the radiation treatment of mangoes, onion, and other foodstuffs takes place. Oh, that was the food. I told you first about healthcare, then I told you about the agriculture, and then I told you about the food. Now let us come to before we break for, we have 10, 15 minutes for break. So before that, I will finish this lecture, and then we can break for 10, 15 minutes, for 5, 10 minutes. Now I told you first is area of application was the healthcare. The second area was, what was the second area? Food and agriculture. And third area was isotope hydrology, which is the application of isotope techniques for water resources development and management. Now you see that how the radioisotopes, or how the stable isotopes are used for the water resources development and management. You can see in this slide, you have a hydrological cycle here. You have a hydrological cycle, and in the hydrological cycle, what happens? In the hydrological cycle, isotopic fraction takes place, and when the isotopic fractionation takes place, this fractionation leads to the variation in the isotopic composition of the isotopes of hydrogen and oxygen molecules. And this variation can be detected, and this variation can be used as a tracer to draw the various information about the origin and pathways of the water. So this is how the isotope techniques are used for the water resources development and management. In the hydrological cycle, the fractionation takes place, and because of the isotopic fractionation, this fractionation leads the variation in the isotopic composition of the material, isotopic composition of the hydrogen and oxygen, and then this variation is measured and used as to what is the origin of water, what is the path and path of this water. So the techniques which are used in the environmental techniques of environmental isotope techniques, which are called the stable isotope techniques. So we measure the isotopic ratio of various isotope like oxygen 18 by oxygen 17, deuterium by the hydrogen, carbon 13 by carbon 12, nitrogen 15 by nitrogen 14, sulfur 34 by sulfur 35. So we measure the variation isotopic ratio of these isotopes and then analyze that variation as a tracer to find out the various kinds of the phenomena which is taking place in the like flooding. Sometimes there is a flooding, sometimes there is a rain, excess rain, sometimes there is a cloud burst, sometimes there is a groundwater pollution. So things like that, they can be, these techniques can be used. Then there is a radioactive isotope technique. There are some isotope techniques also in which the radioactive isotopes are used, like tritium, carbon 14, chlorine 36, and sulfur 32. These are all radioactive isotopes, and they are used for the dating purpose. Dating purpose means how old is the water, how what is the age of the groundwater, age of the various other things like plants age, and many things can be detected from this dating. Then there is another technique called injected radioactive tracer techniques. Injected radio tracer technique means you inject artificially produced radioactive isotopes into the system, and then take the sample and monitor it, and then find out what is happening in the environment. So that is the way how isotope techniques can be used for the management of the water resources. So what are the applications of these isotope techniques and in hydrology or in water resources management? They are used for the identification of source and origin of the groundwater, or groundwater recharge, whether the groundwater is getting recharged from the rain or not, or from which source is getting, whether it is getting recharged from the water from the sea, or it is getting recharged from a river, or it is getting recharged from a rain. So that way, आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ सोर्स एंड ओरिजिन ऑफ ग्राउंड वाटर रिचार्ज, ग्राउंड वाटर में जो रिचार्ज हो रहा है ग्राउंड वाटर का, उसका सोर्स क्या है. दिस इज द वन वी application we use. Estimation of the residence time of groundwater means what is the groundwater, how it is moving actually in the ground. From the here we cannot see how it is moving, and we can also date the water की what is the age, whether ये 50 साल पुराना है, 100 साल पुराना है, 1000 साल पुराना है, या 5000 साल पुराना है, कितना पानी है. If you take a groundwater sample, do the dating, radiation dating, like tritium dating, carbon 14 dating, or any other radioisotope dating, you can find out how old is the water. Identification source of groundwater contamination. Nowadays you see groundwater is getting contaminated. You see there is a lot of pollution in the groundwater. So you can also find out the pollution of the groundwater. So whether it is a contamination by uranium, it's a contamination by arsenic, it is contamination by sulfur, and it is contamination by any other thing which is not good for the health. Recharge of drying springs in the mountainous region. In the mountainous region there are springs, and during the summer time these springs get vanished, actually they gets dried. So why they get dried, how they get dried, and what we should do for getting them recharged, so that they do not get dried during the summer season. So to find out the region, and to find out how these mountainous springs can be used for recharging of those springs. Establishing the aquifer to aquifer interconnection, the interconnection of the various water bodies, whether subsurface or surface water bodies, whether two bodies are interlinked, that can be also information can also be obtained from these isotope techniques. So understanding the surface to groundwater interaction of surface, like you have a sea and that sea water is intruding into the groundwater, and then it is recharging to the groundwater. So one can also find out whether this sea shore or the sea water is interconnected with the groundwater. Or if you have a pond, and if you have a groundwater, if you want to see that how this pond is whether recharging the groundwater or not. So that kind of interaction also can be known from this thing. Identification of origin of thermal waters. There are the geothermal waters available in our country. Garam pani ke jo springs हैं. So what is the origin? What is the origin? What is the subsurface temperature and various other parameters of these geothermal waters? That kind of information can also be obtained from isotopic techniques. Investigation of hydrological processes of lakes and wetlands, and how the flow dynamics, how the flow is taking place in the lakes and in the wetlands or in the other hydrological systems. That information can also be obtained using the isotope hydrological data. You can see that BARC has done a lot of experiment, may more than thousands of large scale hydrological investigations have been carried out by BARC all over India. These investigations have been carried out for identification of recharge zone and altitude, arsenic contamination, surface water, groundwater interconnection, and whatever I just told you in the previous slides. So all over the country, large number of hydrological investigations have been carried out using these isotope techniques, and these all investigations have been carried out by the Baba Atomics Research Center, Mumbai. You can see that in Uttarakhand is a hilly area, and there is a during the summer time there is a scarcity of the water. And you see that why these springs they get dried and how they can be recharged. So you can see that using the isotope techniques we can identify the recharge zone from which location these springs can be recharged. Not from the it is not that you can make a pond at the at any location and that pond will recharge the spring. It is not like that. You have to find out using the isotope techniques what is the suitable location for the recharging these springs. And when you identify the recharge location, at the recharge location you can make a suitable structure like check dam or check bunds and any other thing. And then you can what happens is when the rain takes place, when there is a rainy season, these structures they help in recharging those springs. So a lot of experiments have been done. We have BRC has done a lot of experiments in Uttarakhand, and these techniques help them about to rejuvenate the 80 different springs in Uttarakhand. So this you must have read in the newspaper also. It quite often it comes. You say more than 85 springs have been rejuvenated, and spring discharge rate increased from 2 to 7 times. So you can see here how in this particular spring there is a very less quantity of the water coming, but you see the other spring there is a after making the check dams or after doing the isotope investigation, the water's discharge has been increased significantly. So then the groundwater recharge, you see, as a Jal Shakti mission of government of India, it was we were given a task of to find out the recharge zone, and in rejuvenating the old ponds in various districts of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, and even in the Maharashtra also near Nasik. And we have done these study, and then after identification of the recharge zones, we have recommended that them to make this kind of a structure, and this kind of a structure will help to to recharge the groundwater, as well as during the rainy season or in other season also the water will be available for surface water will be available. So it is used for the two purposes actually, or for the recharging as well as the availability of the waters to the farmers for various applications. So this was the recharge. Then there is a groundwater pollution. I thought that there is a pollution of various. It is a sulfur pollution, nitrogen pollution, arsenic pollution, chromium pollution, and many others pollution. If the if the these groundwater gets contaminated with these chemicals, there is a lot of health hazards. And isotope techniques, they help to identify the what is the source of the pollution, how these pollutants are coming into the groundwater, and how they can be how this they can be stopped. So this is the way various studies have been carried out. Then groundwater for for the sustainable development of the groundwater, the groundwater has to be there in these bodies, in the water bodies, for for the enough period for future also. So isotope studies are also done to see the sustainability, and to explore the groundwater's resources. And then I think there are now only two to three slides left. And you see that to purify this groundwaters, to purify this groundwater, there are many kinds of the absorbents have been developed by BRC, like for the chromium, for uranium, arsenic, chromium, mercury. These are the very toxic elements, and if they are there in the groundwater, how they can be used for, how these absorbents can be used for the removal of those groundwater contaminations. So we have developed some cotton based absorbents using the radiation technology, and my colleagues in BRC are doing this kind of work, and various kinds of absorbents depending upon the type of the contamination they have developed. So this one I think is a general slide for the development of the absorbents. And you can see that how the radiation grafted absorbents for arsenic remediation means to remove the arsenic. You can see that these are the some field, how in the field uh, they are setting up these setups, absorbent setup, and then purifying the water. Then this is for the chromium also. Then same way it is used for the uranium, then used for the mercury. And I think I will stop here. This was the first part of the application of societal applications of nuclear science and technology. How the radiation technology can be used for the benefits of the mankind, benefit of the society. So I think it is now 12:30. I was told that we have to break for this thing. So I will break here, and then maybe a break for 10 minutes is okay. I think we will break for the 10 minutes. It is 12:30. So I think let us be there at 12:45. So sir, 12:45 we will start the another lecture, and in 1 hour and 15 minutes I will finish that lecture, and it will be over by 2 o'clock. Thank you very much. And in the at the end of the lectures, we will have a 10-15 minutes open session when you can ask me your questions. Thank you. Is it okay? Organizers are there, or participants are there? Are you people ready? Hello? Hello, participants. Hello? Are you ready? Organizers? Hello? 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 So I am starting the second lecture. Uh, the title of my second lecture is the same. It is a part 2, and I am continuing from where I left in the previous lecture. So in the previous lecture, I told you about the application of nuclear science and technology for societal benefits in the area of healthcare, food and agriculture, water resources and management. And now in this part, I will discuss the application of nuclear science and technology in industry. What are the application of radiation techniques in industry? So let us start the lecture. In industry, generally, there are 5 types of problem in the industrial plant. And these problems are poor quality of the product, which is being produced in the industrial plants. Second is a reduced process efficacy. Then the poor design of the reactor, high energy consumption, and safety of the environment and the operators. So these are the 5 major problems which are encountered in the industrial plants. And now we will see how these problems can be addressed using the radiation techniques. The advantage of the radiation isotope techniques is that they have the high detection sensitivity, and because of the high detection sensitivity, one needs to inject a very minimum amount of the radioactivity, and because of that, there is no radiation hazards associated with the use of these techniques. Online monitoring. since this gamma radiation can penetrate through the thick walls of the systems, so one need not to take the samples. So these techniques can be, these radiation can be monitored without shutting down the plant. So we need not to shut down, temper, and disturb the plant operation. Third thing is a physicochemical compatibility. A large number of radioisotopes. I told you that more than 2000 different radioisotopes can be produced in the nuclear reactors. So we have a suitable range of the proper physicochemical compatible radioisotopes for the different applications. We have, when we do the experiment, these results can be obtained immediately after doing the experiments. And in most of these applications, these applications do not have any alternatives. When no techniques is available, then only we use the radiation techniques. If there is a equivalent techniques and the same job can be done using a conventional techniques, it is better to use the conventional techniques. But when there is no other alternative, then we have to use the radiation techniques. And as I told you that these radiation techniques can be broadly divided into two categories, the radio tracer and seal source. So now we will be seeing how these seal source, these both radio tracer and seal source techniques can be used in the industry for different applications. Now let us discuss some of the radio tracer applications which are used in the industry. You can see that this is the principle of the radio tracer techniques on the left hand side of this slide here. So you inject a suitable radio tracer into the system and monitor its passage or its flow at minimum 2 locations or maybe many locations. It depends upon how big is the system and depends upon the type of the system. So if it is a very simple system, then you need to monitor the radio tracer concentration at the inlet and the outlet. And when you get this kind of radio tracer concentration curve at the inlet and outlet, then we get this data, and this data is then treated, analyzed, and the information about the flow dynamics or information about the hydrodynamics of this reactor can be obtained, and that information again can be used for solving the problem which I told you in the first slides. So this is the principle of radio tracer techniques, how they are used in its industry. Now, what are the commonly used, commonly carried out application of these radio tracer techniques in industry? These applications which are carried out by BARC as listed here. You can see here leak detection in heat exchanger and pipelines, flow rate measurement, mixing and blending time measurement, residence time distribution measurement, sediment transport investigation in ports and harbor, effluent dispersion in coastal water, means how the pollutant and effluents are dispersing in the coastal water. That can also be known that can also be studied using the radio tracer techniques. Flow characterization in oil fields, in the oil industry, how in the oil field, how in the oil field, these radio tracer techniques are used to characterize the flow in the oil wells, in the oil fields. Wear and corrosion rate measurement, how the wear and corrosion rate are estimated using the radiation techniques, and this techniques is the technique is known as the thin layer activation analysis techniques, means TLA technique. Radioactive particle tracking techniques, means how a single radioactive particle can be used for the flow characterization in any industrial reactors. So actually this radioactive particle tracking technique, this is used in the laboratory scale or pilot scale system, but it cannot be as on today, it cannot be used in the full scale industrial plants. But all these other techniques, they are regularly applied by the Bhabha Atomic Research Center in the various industries across India. You see that these are the commonly used radioisotopes which are used as a radio tracer in industry. You can see here tritium. Tritium is a beta emitter having a half-life of 12.6 years, and it is in the form of tritiated water. It can be used for tracing the aqueous phase. Then molybdenum 99M. This can be used for tracing the aqueous phase. Technetium 99M again can be used for tracing the aqueous phase. Iodine, you can see here the bromine 82. Bromine 82 is as I told you that technetium 99M is a workhorse of the nuclear medicine. In the same way, bromine 82 is used in the bromine 82 is used in 80% of industrial radio tracer application, and because of that reason, it is called the workhorse of the industrial radio tracer application. Why the workhorse? Because bromine 82 in the form of ammonium bromide is used for tracing the aqueous phase. Bromine 82 in the form of para-dibromobenzene is used for the tracing the organic phase. And bromine 82 as a methyl bromide gas is used for the tracing the gas phase. So you can see here this one isotope, only bromine 82, but in three different forms can be used for tracing the three different fluids. So that is why in most of the radio tracer application in industry, bromine 82 is the most suitable and then widely used radio tracer. Lanthanum 140 in the form of solids is used for the tracing the solid phase. Gold 198, gold 198 having a half-life of 2.7 days is used for tracking the solid phase. Scandium 46 in the form of scandium glass is again used for tracing the solid phase. And krypton 79 in the form of krypton is an inert gas. So this gaseous radioisotope is used for tracing the gas phase. So you can see here we have the radio tracers or radioactive isotopes for tracing almost all the phases in industry. So now let us see the application of radio tracers in industry. You can see that this is a residence time distribution measurement and analysis is one of the most frequently carried out applications in industry. What is this residence time? Residence time is that time of stay of a process material inside the system. If any material is entering into a system and then it is exiting out from the system at the outlet. So in industry, process engineer, they very often wants to know what is the residence time of process material inside this industrial plants. So that is called the residence time. So, but residence time is not a single time. You can you see if radio tracer is injected into the plant, some molecule will stay for a longer time, some shorter time, and some in a very, very long time, some very, very short time, some for the medium time. So there is a distribution in their residence time, and that is called the residence time distribution. And when you measure this residence time, analyze it, you get many information about the flow dynamics of the system. It's just, as I told you, it's just taking the ECG of your industrial plant. So from the residence time distribution, we can get a lot of information about the flow dynamics or what is happening inside the process plant. Here as an example, I am just giving you example of a glass industry. And in this glass industry, This experiment was carried out in a Borosil glass industry. And why it was done? They approached us that the quality of the glass seeds which are produced, they are not up to the mark. Their quality is very poor. And they wanted to know us what is the reason for this poor quality of the product. When this glass company was producing the solar seeds for the solar panels, and these solar panels were having the very poor efficacy. This efficacy of these seeds was not up to the mark. It was poor. So the companies which this company was supplying these seeds, they rejected those seeds. No, your glass seeds are not up to the marks. So they were rejecting their material. So that is why they approached us, and we carried out a series of radio tracer experiment in one of their glass production plant. And you see that, glass is produced at a degree of 1200 to 1500 degrees centigrade. Is the temperature inside the glass furnace and glass. So you see that no conventional technique can work in this temperature. At more than 100 degrees centigrade, no conventional techniques, nothing will work. Even 40-50 degrees से ज़्यादा हो जाएगा तो no techniques will work. It is only the radioactive tracer techniques which can be used for the measurement of residence time and analysis of this flow behavior of this glass. So you can see that this is a glass plant here. You can see that this is the first plant. Sorry, first part. The first part is called the furnace of the plant. And this furnace of the plant is like, 3 to 4 story building. It's a big building like thing, and you have the burner here at the inlet, and then you have here you have a dam wall, which is called the dam wall, and then you have a molten glass here, and this molten glass is used for this molten glass recirculates here and mixes here, and then after mixing, it comes out from the dam wall and then comes here at the throat of the furnace. From the throat of the furnace, it goes to a part which is called the forehearth. From the forehearth, after passing the forehearth, it properly mixes there, and then it goes to a roller here. After proper mixing, it passes through a roller, and in the roller, the seeds are produced from the molten glass. And then there is an annealing section here, then a cooling section here, and then at the end you get those seeds, and you can cut those seeds of the desired size. So this is how glass production unit works for this thing. And you can see here what we did. We injected a radio tracer, which is a lanthanum 140, which was injected into the feeder. And after injecting here, we monitored these radio tracer at the sides of the side walls of the system. Here you can see D1 and D2 detector, and also at the bottom, and also at the throat, and also 3 locations along the forehearth. And here this is left hand side, right hand side, and then at 3 locations here in the cooling section, at the end of the cooling section. And it means total all these detectors through a wire, they were connected to a common data acquisition system. So this is that common data acquisition here. And this detector, because since the temperature outside the wall is very high, actually, is very high, and if you keep the radiation detector there, that may get damaged. So you have to make a cooling jacket like this, and you have to put the radiation detector through this cooling jacket. And this cooling jacket, in the cooling jacket, the chilled water supply is circulated, and that chilled water supply cools the detector and keeps it at a temperature of 10 to 15 degrees centigrade. If the temperature reaches around 70, 80 or 100 degrees, this detector will start malfunctioning. So you know that sodium iodide scintillation detector cannot be used at more than 50 to 60 degree centigrade. So this was the experimental setup. And you can see here, these are the radiation concentration curve monitored at the left hand side of the wall and right hand side of the wall. And you can see there the intensity is 14,000, 15,000, 20,000, around 20,000, 16,000. And these are the radiation monitored curve at the bottom. And you bottom, you see there is only 5,000 degree, 5,000 counts per second. It means here the radiation intensity at the wall is high, and on the side wall is high, and in the bottom is very low. It means the radioactivity is not getting mixed and reaching to the bottom. This means that the radioactivity is moving in the top layer of the. It means all the flow of the molten glass is just on the surface, which is wrong, which is not a good for the mixing. And you can see there here, if the flow patterns are same, these two red and black curves should have been superimposing on each other. But here they are not superimposing. They are two distinct flow paths here. So it means there are two parallel flow paths taking place. And there is these multiple peaks tells us that there is a recirculation of the molten glass taking place, which is a good actually, which is good because more is the recirculation, more will be the mixing. But you see that recirculation is of not that good actually. If it would have been a good, there should have been these peaks like this actually. So recirculation is poor, so the mixing is poor, and the flow is non-uniform. So these are the information. And you can see in the bottom, the bottom flow is stagnant. It is not moving. The layer of the molten glass at the bottom is just stagnant. It is not moving at all. So that is why we are getting the most of the molten glass is flowing in the top layer of the furnace. So this is what, and this is the radiation intensity which was monitored at the throat of the furnace. And from the throat, from this curve, it is just like when the doctor analyzes the ECG and tells what is the wrong with the heart. In the same way, a tracer technologist like me will analyze this data, and from the analysis, what we are finding out. We are finding out what is the breakthrough time. Breakthrough time is the time of first appearance at the throat. जिस समय पे रेडियो ट्रेसर पहली बार उधर पहुंचा, दैट इज कॉल्ड द ब्रेक थ्रू टाइम. एंड दिस ब्रेक थ्रू टाइम in this case was 3.7 hours. And this 3.7 hours time, breakthrough time, the breakthrough time is very important for the glass process engineers. So they wanted to know this. So from here we could get the breakthrough time. Mean residence time, matlab, average time of stay of the molten glass within the furnace. How much it was? We estimated it to be 23 hours. 23 hours it took. And dead volume means the volume which is not taking part in the flow. As I told you, in the bottom of the furnace, the sum of the flow is stagnant, which is not moving, which is dead. And this volume was about 30% of the total volume of the furnace. Bypassing is a 10%. Here in bypassing, you can see that this is a sharp peak in the beginning, which indicates that there is a bypassing of the fluid. Bypassing means a small fraction of the molten glass is spending a very short time within the furnace, or it is not properly mixing. And then we did some analysis and we found out which model is working and other things. And when we got these glass sheets at the outlet, we cut those glass sheet into two halves and monitored the radio tracer concentration at the different location in those sheets, and then plotted that radio tracer concentration as a function of the time. Every half an hour, we used to take one sheet and then cut it into two pieces and measure the radioactivity at 9 different locations in two halves of these sheets. And we then plotted that. And then you see here, when the radiation intensity at all the points becomes same, they merge, it means that is the mixing time. Mixing time is the ingredient of the glass, ingredients, which various ingredients are used for the glass production. So they melt. After melting, they take around 29 hours for the mixing, and then only if they are not mixed, the quality of the seeds will be poor. So these are the information which we got from this residence time distribution analysis. And based on this, our finding, they took a decision to modify this glass furnace. And after modifying the glass furnace, we again did the radio tracer experiment, and we found that some of these problems were disappeared in the modified glass furnace. And then again, based on our two experiments, they designed two more glass furnaces. So you see that how a radioactivity, radio tracer, radiation techniques can be used for finding out the faults, finding out the flow analysis in the industrial plants, and then modifying the design, and then again designing a new furnace or the new reactor. So this kind of radio tracer experiments are regularly carried out by Wawa Atomics Research Center, and to benefit the Indian industry. So this was one experiment, this was one application of radio tracer techniques in the industry. Again, sediment transport investigation in ports and harbor. You can see that, you must have seen that in the port. What is in port? You have a shipping channel. As you have a road to come, drive the car in the in a city, and same way in the sea, actually, near the shore, near the harbor, you have a shipping channel for the ships to come in. Why this shipping channel? In this shipping channel, the depth is more. If the normal depth may be around 5 to 6 meter at the shore or at the jetty, but for ships to come to the port, we require about 10 to 12 meter of depth. So what is done, that sediments are dredged. After dredging, this dredge, they have to be put in at some place. They cannot take it to the onshore. They have to put it in the somewhere in the shore only, that dredge material. But they have to dump that dredge material at a location from where it should not find its way back into the shipping channel again. मतलब आपने ऐसा नहीं कि ड्रेस किया, कहीं पे डाला और फिर से वो फिर से मटेरियल वापस उसमें आ गया, तो इट इज ऑफ नो यूज. इट इज अ लॉस टू द इट इज अ लॉस, और इट इज अ प्रॉब्लम फॉर द industrial, for the port people. So you have to select a location and then validate and then verify whether this particular dumping location is right or not. So how it is done? What we do, we make a radioactive sand. How we make a radioactive sand? It is a scandium glass powder. Scandium glass powder has the same size, same density, so it mimics the sand. So because the tracer has to have the same similar property as the material which we are going to trace. So here we are going to trace the sand. So tracer has to be of the same physical properties as the sand. So here we make the scandium glass powder as a sand. And why scandium glass powder? Because scandium we have put in that glass, because scandium, this was the radioactive material actually. So this scandium glass powder is irradiated in the nuclear reactor, and in that scandium glass powder, scandium 46 is produced, which is a radioactive isotope. So now this radioactive isotope is used for the tracing of the sand. So you can see here we have the, India has a long coastline here. We have the 13 major ports, and we have the coastline of about 7,600 kilometer long. And along this line, we have the 13 ports. And we have done the radio tracer experiment to find out whether these dumping sites are suitable or not. So port people, what they do, they do some analysis, and based on that analysis they locate some location in the sea along the channel. Now they ask us to do the radio tracer experiment and tell us whether the site which we have selected for dumping the dredge material is suitable or not. So we have Baba Atomic Research Center has done more than 80 large scale radio tracer experiment in most of the ports in the country, and these experiments were carried out to find out whether the dumping site or dumping site for the dredge material is suitable or not. So this is what how yeah, radio tracer is injected on the seabed. This is the injection system. You have the radioactivity here inside this drum. This goes up to the sea bottom, and then you using a pneumatic actuator. We open this drum, and there's a radioactivity which is inside falls on the seabed. And then this radioactivity is monitored, this kind of radiation detector. This arrangement is dragged using a boat, and then radioactive tracer radiation intensity is monitored. And you can see that in one of the experiment, when we dumped the radioactive material at this site, you can see that this is the pattern of spread of the radioactivity after 21 days. So after 42 days, this is the how the pattern is spreading, how the radioactivity is. Then this is the after 70 days, then after 115 days. And you see that after 115 days, we are finding that's where we dump the radioactive material is moving along the shipping channel. Means this radioactivity is not coming into the shipping channel. This is a shipping channel. So you can see that in none of the none of the trackings, none of the these graphs, the radioactivity is going into the shipping channel. So in fact, it means that the site which port people have selected for dumping the for dumping the dredge sand can be dumped along the shipping channel, because it will not come into the so if let us say if we dumped here, and if all is coming into the channel here, it means this particular is not suitable. Actually, after dumping, the sediment should move away from the channel. So this is the way how the radioactive isotopes are used for to find out the suitability of the dumping sites in ports. The flow rate measurement is another very important application of the radioactive tracer techniques. And these flow rate measurements are carried out for online calibration of the flow meter, where the accurate measurements are required, where to measure the efficacy of the pumps or turbines, and where the flow meter cannot be installed or cannot be used. So this is the way, this is how the radioactive tracer techniques can be used for the different purposes. You can see that these are the pumps here. This is called the VT pumps here. These were, manufactured by the Kirloskar brothers Pune, and they were installed in the various locations in the Sardar Sarovar Canal, as well as in the many power plants. These pumps are used, and this Sardar Sarovar people wanted us to find out the flow rate of the canals. Means how what is the flow rate of water in the canals, and these pumps were used for the for the pumping of the water into the canal, actually from dam to the canal. So, and this is the one experiment which we carried out in a company called Hinduja Hinduja Power company, actually. SPNC, Hinduja Power, something like that, which I don't remember that name, exact name right now, but it is in the Visakhapatnam. And these are the pipelines which were used for drawing the, cooling water from the sea. So when they draw the cooling water from the sea, they have to pay some revenue to the government. So they wanted to, but for paying the revenue, they must know what is the flow rate, what is the quantity of the water they are drawing from the sea. So these were the lines, and these were the flow meter which were installed on these lines. But these flow meters were malfunctioning actually, and in fact they could not be used actually here. So we again, they approached us and they told us to carry out the flow rate measurements, and we carried out the 4 experiment in this plant here. You can see that this is a schematic of the plants. These are the pipelines. So we measure the flow rate in these pipelines, and we got the flow like this: 15.43 cubic meter per second, 27.52 cubic meter second, 14. And when we use one pump, the flow rate was around 15 cubic meter. But when they use 2 pumps like this, then it was around 27 to 24 cubic meter per second. So this is the way how radio tracer techniques can be used for the flow rate measurement and then calibration of the flow meter. So now this is another example of the use of radiation technique for the leak detection. Leakage in heat exchangers and buried pipelines is a very common problem in the industrial plants. And you can see here, what is this is the bank of the heat exchanger. If any one of the flow heat exchanger is leaking, then we have to identify that. And we cannot identify any conventional techniques, because there is a high temperature fluid inside, and these are operating as very high temperature actually. So radio tracer techniques are used. In radio tracer techniques, is suitable radio tracer which is like bromine 82 as para-dibromobenzene, because the process material is the organic. So we have to use a organic phase tracer, which is injected into the system into the high pressure side, and it is monitored into the low pressure side. And using this technique, we can identify that which of the heat exchanger is leaking here. In the same way, we can find out the leakage point in a buried pipelines. If you have a pipeline which is very long and it is buried in the soil about 1 to 2 meter, the radioactive tracer techniques are used to find out the leakage in this pipeline. So these are some of the applications which really leads to very high economic benefits to the industry. Now, this is another example of how radio tracer techniques can be used in the oil field. You see that when you make a you dig a explore what is called oil well, what happens? If you have there is a when you drill a oil well like this, what is initially there is a enough pressure inside the reservoir. So because of that pressure, the oil comes out its own. Oil will come out from the water. But what happens slowly? This pressure will decrease. So this pressure will decrease, and there will come a situation when this oil well will not be able to produce the oil anymore. So what happens in that situation? These oil engineers, they do, they have another well here, and they inject the water through this. They inject the water through this, and when they inject the water, they can this injected water will push the oils towards this well, and again the pressure will increase and oil will start coming out from the producer. Now it happens that if I inject the water here, this particular well may not contribute to the will not contribute oil production in this well. It may produce some other well here in the nearby area. So in order to establish the interconnection between the oil and injection well, radio tracers are injected into the injector and samples are collected from the nearby producer wells, and then if their radioactivity is coming to this producer well, it means there is a interconnection between these two wells. So this is the way how a radio tracer is used to find out the interconnectivity between the oil wells. And also we can find out how much fraction of the water is reaching into this well. जितना हमने इंजेक्ट किया उसका कितना परसेंट जो है इस ऑयल वेल में हमें मिला है. एंड टू नो द प्रिफरेंशियल डायरेक्शन, क्योंकि किस डायरेक्शन मूव कर रहा है पानी, इस डायरेक्शन में कर रहा है या इधर कर रहा है या किसी और डायरेक्शन में कर रहा है, दैट ऑल्सो वन कैन फाइंड आउट. वी कैन ऑल्सो कैरेक्टराइज द फ्लो. We can also find out what is the whether there is a bypassing, whether there is a channeling and a stagnant flow, or what is the breakthrough of the residence breakthrough and residence time, and many parameters can be like permeability, porosity, and many other parameters can be measured and estimated. And this kind of tracer experiments are regularly done in the oil industry by BIRC. In fact, now they have their own lab, tracer lab in Ahmedabad. ONGC has their tracer lab, and they do these experiment now themselves. They just buy the radio tracer from us, and the radio tracer which are used in such applications are tritium. You can see here the tritium, carbon 14, sulfur 35. These are the mostly the beta emitting radio isotopes which are used in these applications. Now, wear and corrosion rate measurement is another application in the industry, like automobiles industry, in any industry in India, metal industry or automobile industry, oil industry, and even in the nuclear industry, process industry, everywhere where of the metal component is a common problem. There is a corrosion, there is a wear rate, there is erosion, and to find out to find out the wear rate of those components, radioisotope techniques is used. In fact, we have done some experiment with some company called this institute, Indian Institute of Petroleum, Dehradun. With them, we carried out this experiment, and we found out the wear rate of the gears of the car. Gears of the car, how they are wearing out. And this kind of experiments were done with the different oil, different lubricating oil. And then from this experiment, we also find out which of the oil well, so lubricating oil one is the best one. So we in this experiment, we use the four oil, L1, L2, L3, L4, and we found that the L4 lubricating oil, at which the wear rate is the minimum, is the best oil. So this is the way how they selected a particular type of the oil for the production or for the marketing. So these were some of the radio tracer experiment. Now within next few minutes, I will tell you how the radiation isotope techniques in the sealed source form they are used. Till now, I was telling you the tracer techniques. I mean, you inject the radio tracer and then you monitor it. But in the sealed source technique, I told you that the radioactivity never comes in contact with the material. Only a beam of radioisotopes is injected, and it is directed on the wherever on which system you want to investigate. The radiations from the source are directed on it, and then transmitted intensities are recorded. And there are many kinds of application of radio sealed sources, and these sealed sources are classified into five different categories. One is the radiometry, radiography, tomography, nucleonic gauges, and radiation processing application. So I will tell some of the application of these techniques here. And what are the sealed sources which are used in an industry? The cobalt 60, cesium 137, iridium 192, cobalt 57, and so on. These are the gamma radiation source which are used in the industry. These are the beta sources. These are the neutron sources. And in addition to this, X-rays from the electron oscillator or X-ray generators are also used in the sealed source application. And these sealed sources have the different size, and they have the different types. In the somewhere they were a point source, a tablet, or a metal sheets, or sometime a wire, sometime a cylinder, sometime of a pencil. So sometime of this shape and size. So they depending upon the application, the shape and size is very different. It varies. So now let us see the radiometry or gamma scanning of the industrial problem column. You see, you must have seen that this kind of column in industry. If you go to any industry like petroleum industry, cement industry, any kind of industry, oil industry, refineries, you will find this kind of process columns. And they, during the operation of these columns, they start malfunctioning. When they start malfunctioning, engineers cannot see inside the column what is happening inside the column. But there is a using radioisotope or nuclear techniques, which is called the gamma scanning technique or radiometry technique. You put a radiation source one side, radiation detector on the other side, and you move them up and down. Synchronously, you move them up and down and scan the system. After scanning, you generate this kind of density profile, and from this density profile you can find out what is the problem inside this column. You can find whether the internals are at their respective position, or they have fallen down, and what is the liquid level in these tray, or in this internal structure, whether there is a foaming, frothing, entrainment, weeping, and what is the radial distribution. So many kinds of problems can be identified from this density distribution graph actually. And then wherever there is a problem, a process engineer will have to open the column at that location. This is a technique which is used in 133 countries in the world. Every country is almost using this radiation gamma scanning technique for the process diagnosis and or troubleshooting in the industrial columns. You can see that another application of sealed source techniques is that you have a two-phase flow system. You have a system which contains a solid and which contains gas, and there is a bubbling and there is a fluidization taking place inside. And if one wants to know, in very often the engineers wants to know ki what is the percentage of the solids or percentage of the gas or air inside this system. So using a radiation detect source which is housed here, which emits gamma radiations, they are directed on this column here, and they are penetrated, and here is a radiation detector. They are monitored, and based on the density, based on the distribution, based on the flow dynamics inside, the radiation intensity is transmitted and recorded, and from that recorded intensity we can find out what is the percentage of the solids or gas inside this system. And we use this formula to find out the hold up fractions, and these are the different graphs which are monitored from this thing. and we can find out the we can find out the percentage of at different operating conditions. So this is another application of radiometry. The radiography in you know about the radiography is done by the to inspect any weld. When the welding is done in the industry, then it is mandatory that welding has to be a radiograph by the radiation techniques. So in the radiography technique, you have a source, you have a film, and the intensity of the transmitted radiation is recorded on in terms of on the film. It's just it is very similar to the X-ray. When you go to a doctor and a doctor takes a X-ray of your leg and chest or any part of the body, and then he analyze it, looks at the radiograph, and then tells you that this is here this is broken, or there is some problem. So same way in the industry, we take a radiograph of the industrial component. It may be a pipe, it may be a bed, it may be a weld, it may be any metal kind. So this kind of technique is used to find out the integrity of the industrial component, to find out the flaws, to find out the internal structure in the this thing. And there are more than, I think, 600 private companies in India which provides the radiography services to the its industry. We don't do this kind of work. BRC was doing initially, but now there are not more 500, it is more than 600 companies which are regularly using this gamma radiography technique in industry for the various inspection. These are the radiography cameras here, two types of these are the radiation sources which are used in the radiography, that is cobalt 60, iridium 192 and cesium 137, and X-rays from X-ray machines are also used for the radiography purposes. Now you see that one of the latest application of this NDT techniques is that in civil engineering. You see, when the earthquake takes place, after the earthquake, there is a damage of the property, damage of the building, damage of the bridges, damage of any critical, this thing. So in order to see the damage in these civil structures, like you have a very heritage building, some important building, or this has a bridge, if you want to see what is the extent of damage, or whether this can be used or not. So to evaluate the extent of damage, this kind of radiography or radiation techniques are used. These techniques are radiometry, radiography, tomography, nucleonic gases, and muon tomography techniques. So various techniques are also, and these are mainly done to assess the damage done after the earthquake or tsunami or landslide or any natural calamity. You can see this computed tomography. You know what is computed tomography. It is similar to the CT scan. When the doctor asks you to take the CT of your brain or your head or any other part of the body, same way one can take the CT of your industrial component or industrial reactor. And this radiography is a two-dimensional techniques, while the tomography is a three-dimensional techniques. And from this technique, we can find out where exactly at which location there is a problem, or there is a high density, or there is a low density. Basically what we are doing using this computer tomography, we are finding out the cross-sectional density distribution profile. So it is like that. You can see that how, of the industrial component, you can see inside this, and this you can generate that. This is a 2D picture. You can from here you can see the three-dimensional structure of that material. And this is the tomography setup. Here you have a radiation source, here you have a detector, and then this is rotated around the system. You rotate, and you measure the intensity at a different different angles, and from that data you construct the image like this, and from this image then one can construct the three dimension. So this is the way how we can see, this is the same as the industrial CT techniques. So, uh, so these are the some of the tomographs of which were taken in our laboratory with the tomography systems. You can see here, this is a, this is a metal container, and inside there are some pipes. So if you take a digital radiograph, it will look like this. This will look like that. But if you take a X-ray, tomograph, it will look like this. If you take a cross-sectional, tomo means slice. If you cut it, there's this thing, this container here, you will get this kind of information. So this is the way. These are the, again, this is the tomography setup in our laboratory in BRC, and these are the tomograph of the various system here. You have a reactor process reactor here, and from this process reactor you can find out the what is the cross sectional density distribution. So here you can find out this is a packed bed. In this bed you can find out what is the liquid distribution, distribution of water in this cross section. So these are some typical tomograph of this process vessel. Then you see that radiography or nuclear techniques, radioisotope techniques can be used to find out the conservation of cultural heritage artifacts. So techniques like, techniques like, radiography and tomography, they can be used for the diagnosis of the damage inside these artifacts. That they can be used if they are irradiated using the radiation, they can be disinfected, because इस पे वो लग जाते हैं कीड़े वीड़े या कुछ उस तरह का लग जाते हैं इन आर्टिफैक्ट्स पे. ये देखिए डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ पेंटिंग्स एंड डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ आर्टिफैक्ट्स, they can be irradiated by the radiation, and they can also be rejuvenated, they can also be disinfected, and they can also be then उनकी जो कंडीशन है, it can be improved. Actually physical strength can be improved using the gamma consolidation techniques. So these are the how the radiation can be improved or can be identify the damage in the, and how after identification that can be used for the improvement of these artifacts. And these are the radiation sources: cobalt-60 electron beam machine and neutrons can be used for these applications. So again, these are some of the tomographs which we have obtained of here. These are the two 17th century bronze statues, and one of a tribal woman and tribal man, and they wanted us, this Bombay Museum, they wanted us to take a tomograph because they wanted to know how the internal structure looks like of these thing. And we took these are the radiograph, these are the tomograph. You can see that the radiograph in that in this this is the three-dimensional images we can get. Actually we can rotate them and then we can see what is the inside this thing. Otherwise we cannot cut and see inside how they look like. But if you see take a radiograph or tomograph, we can find out what is the internal structure of these brass statues. Now another application of this thing is nucleonic gauges. And the nucleonic gauges are used for the measurement of the various parameters in the industrial plants, and they have a lot of advantages, like online measurement in real time, the contactless and non-destructive. They require no maintenance. There is no effect of environmental factors on these gauges. Data obtained usually over large material quantities, and they can be used in the harsh environment. They can be used in the high temperature, high pressure, or high in a corrosive environment. They can be used. So these are the different types of nucleonic gases here. You can see the level gauge, thickness gauge, density gauge, cold monitor, and coal belt weigher. So these are the various kind of nucleonic gauges they are used in the industry. So these gauges, they utilize one radiation source of very, very low activity, maybe microcurie or few millicurie, and they can be used for the thickness of measurement of such various quantities, level measurements, thickness measurement, and so on. And even they can be also use the logging in the oil fields, logging. So there are various applications of these gauges, measurement of process parameter, they optimize the process energy saving, and then they use for the control of quality control of the products, and they are also used for the controlling the processes. Finally, when you use these gauges, eventually the use of these gauges leads to very high economic benefits to the industry. So the benefits from these gauges are very high actually. All these techniques which I am just telling you, that their benefits, their economic benefits are very, very high. That is why the industry and others are. And in most of the cases, there are no any alternative techniques available. When the alternative techniques are not available, these are the only solution. So you can see that there are various gauges here. You can see the level gauges, thickness gauges, moisture gauge, flow gauge, and density gauge, yeah, belt weigher actually, and backscattering gauge. This is a well logging gauge. So various types of gauges. If you see in the United States, more than 1 lakh of gauges are being used in the industry. If you see the European Union, 50,000 gauges are using. If you see the China, 50,000 gauges. But if you see in India, there are about 11,500 gauges which are being used in the 1,760 different industries right now. So that was. Now I will quickly tell you some last. I told you what is a radiometry, that is a column scanning. Then I told you radiography, tomography, and nucleonic gauges. And the last application is the radiation processing application. How the radiations are used for modifying the material's property. You see that when he irradiate any processing material, what will happen? There are three possibility. Either there is no effect, so you forget about it. So there may be bad effect of the radiation, so you also don't use that. But there may be a fact that the properties of the material are improved. So then you can use that. You can exploit this for various material processing applications. So you can see the radiations can be used for the modification of the polymeric material, like for cross-linking, grafting, decomposition, etc. All the wire and cables which are used in the industry, it is mandated to irradiate them in the regulation. It's regularly. All wire and cable insulation, they need to be irradiated using the radiation. This is mandatory technique. All the high voltage wire which are used in the high voltage, you must have seen in the electrical industry, they need to be irradiated. Why they need to be irradiated? Because to improve the quality of the insulation and the quality of the wire, so that they can be used at the higher temperature. They can be used in the corrosive this thing, and their quality is improved. They get more strength actually if you irradiate them with the material. Like the tire and rubbers materials are also cured with the radiation. Surface curing and the various coating materials, they are also irradiated to improve the quality. Heat shrinkable cable, polymeric materials, and many other things. Many polymeric materials are irradiated using the radiation to improve the quality. See, environmental remediation, I mean, again, if you have a, wastewater, sludge and flue gases, they can also be irradiated and the pathogen can be killed. Like wastewater is used, wastewater can be irradiated using the radiation. So this technology is even being developed in industry. This is not applicable out, yes, but yes, it is. A lot of experiments are done, and a few radiation plants for the treatment of wastewater and cellars are being operated worldwide. In Korea and in United States for wastewater. And for the cellars, we have one plant in Ahmedabad, one plant in Indore, and one plant in Baroda for the cellars and wastewater treatment. Surface curing of it, as I told you, that any material when it is coated with some coating, if you see irradiated with the radiation, its properties are improved. It becomes more integrated with the substrate, and the quality of that material is improved. The irradiation of gems, stone and diamonds. If you see, the diamond is a colorless. A pure diamond is a colorless, but the colorless diamond has very low value. But if you irradiate with radiations, these gems or these diamonds, they get different colors. They become blue, they become pink, and they become many beautiful types of color can be created when you irradiate radiations with the when we irradiate these diamonds or gemstones using radiations. So you can see that these are the polymeric materials which can be irradiated in the industry and can be their quality can be improved. You can see that this is a plastic caps, and these are basically used at a high temperature and in a corrosive environment, high temperature, pressure, and corrosive environment. In O-rings in some very high high temperature environment. So if this is not strong because of the temperature, this will be spoiled very soon. This will go bad very soon. But if you irradiate the same material with the radiation, it will become more strong, more stronger, and then it can be used even the high temperature. So like this, there are many other critical components which can be irradiated by the radiations to improve its quality. You can see this is a diamond. You can see that a diamond actually looks like this, but if you see irradiate with radiations, gamma radiations or X-rays or neutrons, they become colorful like this. And then actually their quality is improved. They become and these are then very their value is increased manifold. So their cost they can matlab diamond merchant they can sell at them at a very high price, maybe 5 times 10 times more costlier. So radiation irradiated gemstones and diamonds, they improve the quality, and then they can be sold at a very high price. So like this I was just telling you the cables, how the cables in the cable industry, they are irradiated. Though they are irradiated for, they can be used at a high temperature, they can be used at this thing, and many other. You can see these are the radiation plants, gamma radiation plant. I told you in the beginning that there are about 30 gamma radiation plants which are being operated in the Indian industry, and 30 are in another maybe 10 years time there will be maybe there will be 100 200 gamma radiation plant in our country. China is having 400 gamma radiation plants, so you can see we are very much behind. You see the almost last slides. You see, when it comes to the radiation, the first thing in your mind is that the radiation is hazardous. Yes, If
हो मग
you
ते देणार होते मॅडम काही गेले खोत मॅडम
pardon,
खोत मॅडम जरा गेले ते काढून ठेवा त्या माऊलीचं ते 12वीचं हं. दुसरं काहीतरी आहे त्यांचं काय म्हणाले मॅडम मला माहित नाही नेमकं काय आलंय ते
hello, what is happening? So these radiation hazards are associated with the radiations. So what is done? You know, they have to be regulated. Use of the radiation has to be regulated. And in India, there is a regulation body which is called the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, which is located in that Mumbai. This authority, this institute regulates the use of all the radiations applications in the country. You see, uh, whether you use very high activity or if you use very low activity, you have to take the permission from this Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. And these regulatory board makes the radiological safety rules and some regulation, and accordingly they tell the user that's what precautions, what how they should do, and they provide the training, and they are the trained people, they give the radiation safety officers, and then they also give the license. So this is a way, if somebody wants to start some radiation applications, they have to approach this authority. They will tell you what to do, they will train you, they will provide you the radiation safety officer's certificate, and then they will also give you the license for the use and for transportation and for your lab. So this is the way. And there are three basic principles. Now, you see, LRA principle is not used actually. LRA earlier that it was that the radiation exposure has to be as low as possible. But now this principle, in many countries, this principle is not being used actually. Now, only thing is that there are three parameters, which are three things which are used for radiation safety. First is
हेलो
the time. Yes,
सर 2 बज चुके हैं सर ऑलरेडी
I will just finish within. It is almost the last slide.
ओके सर ओके
So this is time, distance, and shielding are three parameters which are used for the radiation, to minimize the radiation exposure. So time of, shielding, time of exposure has to be as minimum as possible. The distance of handling should be as longer as farther as possible, and there should be enough shielding between the radiation source and the user. So these are the three radiation safety rules which one should follow. The time should be minimum. So more you are in front of a radiation source, more dose you will get. Less you are in front of a source, less dose you will get. Distance, if you increase the distance by 2 times, the radiation intensity is reduced by 4 times. So radiation dose received varies inversely proportional to the square of the distance. So this is the how the distance is used. This is the shielding between. There should be lead shielding, a metal shielding, or any other kind of the high density material used for the shielding. So this is the last slides. Here I will tell you that summary of my this thing. All the infrastructure, facilities, expertise is available in BRC BRID to implement the radioisotope technology in industry. Presently, the technology is being implemented in industry on a very modest scale. The level of application, though growing, is still not commensurate with the size of the Indian industry. Indian industry is very, very big, very huge size, and but the kind of the applications, application level of these techniques is very low. And then there is a strong need to create more awareness in the industry about the radioisotope technology to exploit its full potential. The radiation and use of radioisotopes in India is well regulated and supervised by Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. And the amount of radioactivity used in such technique is so low that it doesn't pose any radiation hazards to the user, public, and the environment. Usually, there is a lot of fear in public's mind that the radiation technology is hazardous. But I think if you use them judiciously and the kind of activity which is used in these applications is very, very low, and it doesn't pose any radiation hazards. So thank you very much. With this, I think it is exactly 2 o'clock. I will 2:05. So I am closing my talk here, and you can ask me any questions if you want. And if you want to know more applications and if you want details, you can invite me for online or any lectures in your institute. I am a retired person. I can give lectures on any of the topic. Today, I have just given you a just superficial idea of how the radiation technology or radiation nuclear science and technology can be used for the societal benefits. So thank you very much. I am now you can ask me as questions on whatever you want. Thank you. Over to you, organizers. Hello.
यस एनी क्वेश्चन पार्टिसिपेंट? आप आपका माइक अनम्यूट करके सर के पूछ सकते हैं क्वेश्चन.
Any question, please, you can ask. Don't be whatever kind of question it is, you can ask me.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Sir, I have a question regarding to radiation emission during storage of foods. Like give the example that we passes radiations for storage of pulses. I
Yeah.
want to know how much concentration of radiations or radioactive substance still remain on those food materials. Maybe
No, this.
pulses, maybe.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. I got your question. I got your question.
Because usually we says that radiations are harmful. Even in X-rays, we says that if there is no need for X-ray, then we should not recommend. If it is a critical case, then we should prefer it. So I want to know how much type of how is the concentration or extent of concentration still remain in food materials after passing the emission of radiations.
Okay. Let me actually just tell me one thing. When you go to a doctor and doctor asks you to take the X-ray of chest, okay,
Yes, yes, sir.
how much X-rays, how much quantity of X-rays or radioactive materials remains in your body?
Yeah.
Do you know the answer?
No, I don't know. I have a query regarding to those as well as in these food materials.
You see, I told you that in the sealed source applications, we are not injecting the radioactivity into the system. We are not injecting in the X-rays. When you take the X-rays, the radioactivity is not injected into your body. Only a beam of the radiations, the gamma radiation or X-rays or any beta rays is directed on your body. Okay, in the X-rays,
Okay,
and the radiation just is passing through your body. It
okay,
is not staying there, so it is not contaminated. It is not contaminated. Only in
okay.
all the food irradiation or any kind of application, the radioactivity is neither produced there or the food material which is irradiated gets is there any activity. You told me what will the concentration of the radioactive in that material. When we are not
Yeah,
injecting, when we are not injecting into that food system, how the radioactivity will be there? There will be zero radioactivity. So this is
okay.
the main problem, because there is a lot of lack of information.
Yes, sir. Usually people says that during construction, radon gas passes from the underground surface, so we should not recommend to live in newly constructed houses. Is it only myth or something
No,
else
it
is
you
here?
you are right. This happens only in the mines. Okay, where
Okay.
you are inside a closed environment. If you go to a uranium mines, yeah, or any mines which is 100, you see 5 kilometer down, or 10 kilometer down, or 1 kilometer down, there are the tunnels actually. So there is no proper ventilation, and the
Okay.
emission of the there are minerals actually. There are uranium, thorium, and this are there. These materials decay into the radon gas. So here's in the mines sometime there is a high concentration of the radon gases. But there are the ventilator system. This gas is extracted actually through the ventilation system. Even the mines, inside the mines, I myself has gone into a mines which was 5 kilometer deep in the inside, and it was so properly ventilated. It was so properly
Definitely.
ventilated that no, it was better than even my home actually. So there is no possibility of people is inhaling that radioactive gas, and it goes to the body and then harming. So this is, yes, you are right that radon gas is there, but not a cement. There is a but very very low very low concentration in our houses. But yes, if I keep my house, closed, tightly closed for, 10 years, 5 years, maybe there is a slight increase in the radon gas concentration. But otherwise,
Mm.
every house is well ventilated. If there is a small release, few molecules of the gas are released, they are ventilated, they are away.
Sir, I have more question,
Yes,
if
yes.
you don't mind.
No, no,
Sir,
I'll be happy. I'll be happy if you ask.
Sir, I heard number of cases that in India, in underground water, there is also proof regarding to uranium presence.
Yes.
Is it you say that uranium is present or these radioactive substance lie in our environment? So from where or what are the measure which by which we can prevent uranium in underground water, or what type of means you what type of precautions we have to use for control of that uranium that will not come in our underground water? Means regarding to this I want to know from your side.
Yeah. Yes, you are absolutely right. Thank you. This is a very important question which you have asked, and I feel that you are a little aware about the hazards of the radiation, but I think you were not you were not aware about the how this technology benefits to the society actually. You
Yeah.
see, very positive things you are not knowing, but all the negative things you are knowing. But anyway, it is good to know the negative. I will now tell you that, there was some time back, there was a question in parliament. Some MP from the Tamil Nadu, they asked this question ki in Tumlapalli or districts in where this Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu, there is a high concentration of the uranium in the high concentration of uranium in the
In
groundwater.
underground water.
Yes, in underground, and they told that some MP told that this uranium is coming from the nearby uranium mines, because there are some mines, and from these mines, this there is a lot of water is being used in that process plant in the mines, and then this water is discharged, and through that water this water contaminates the groundwater, and then the uranium is coming. Okay, so this was
Otherwise,
the
there is no source. Otherwise, there is no source if
no,
there
no,
will be
I'm
no mine.
just tell you, man. Just tell you, man. So when there was they approached us actually. They approached me. I was the person who did this experiment whether the groundwater is being contaminated by the. Hello. There is a lot of disturbance actually. Hello, 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 madam. Hello, madam. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am
Yeah.
getting your point.
Okay. So this study was done by us, and we found out that the mine water which was used for the processing, it was not responsible for the contamination of the groundwater. We verified it from the different techniques, 4 or 5 different techniques, and we found this uranium mines where the uranium processing plant was there, it was not contributing to the groundwater. Actually, what happens that in that particular area, there are two sources of the uranium. One source is that it will come from the artificial, if I am doing some processing, and then I can release that water into the ground, into the ground, and that will percolate down, and it will contaminate the groundwater. But that was not the case. Actually, that was not the case. In this particular study, what we found that the source of the uranium was geogenic. Hello. Hello. Hello.
हेलो सर काय
हाँ हाँ
Yes,
हाँ
room
हाँ हाँ
7.
हाँ मैडम, बोले बोले बोले।
आवाज आ
हेलो, हाँ अभी आ रही है आपको आवाज? हेलो।
Yes, sir. आ
हेलो।
रहे हैं sir. Yes, sir.
हाँ, सो वो मैडम जो पूछ रही थी ना।
हाँ सर
हेलो।
बोलिए.
हेलो, shall I continue my this thing, or you want me to stop here?
Stop here sir. Already second lecture भी start करना है sir.
Okay, okay, okay then.
Sir,
She
sir,
can
please.
contact me. She
Yes,
can
sir.
contact me.
Please.
हाँ, then
Myself, Dr. Rajbala, I will contact you. Please share your email ID.
it was
Or
already there. It was already there on my first slide.
okay.
How can I share you if I do not know your number? So you can take
Sir,
my email ID, my phone number from the this thing. I can give you a
okay.
separate lecture on that.
Please share your contact number on WhatsApp. I will contact you.
Yeah, on WhatsApp
Okay,
you
sir.
can contact me. Then you have my number then.
Okay, sir. On chat box you can write down if
Okay.
it's possible.
Okay. I am just writing on chat box. Message. Okay.
I am writing, sir. This is my contact number.
969740717. You can see that my number will be there, 9869740717.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So you
Nice
can.
to meet you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Yes, thank you sir. So room 7.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
So please vote of thanks.
डॉक्टर हरीश सर, इन्होंने आज हमें रेडियोलॉजी और न्यूक्लियर पे महत्वपूर्ण और अच्छी जानकारी दी, इसलिए एमएमसी की ओर से और हमारे ग्रुप की ओर से आपको आभार व्यक्त करता हूं सर.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you sir. I
Okay,
will
sir.
leave कर सकते sir meeting में से.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm leaving. I'm leaving.